Hey, so this one's going to be a fun one because we're going to be talking about everybody's favorite economical system and ideological belief, communism, hey, and socialism, and a few other variants of the basically family of economic workings and ideological beliefs. And before we get into this, we're not going to be talking about how people lived in the communism per se. We're going to be talking more about the system and what it does in this video, as there are many other videos out there that will tell you how it was to live under the Soviet Union or China or Cuba or any other communist nation such as North Korea, Vietnam, and any others. And that is not what this video aims to achieve. It's not here to really criticize those nations, as I really don't want to turn this into a political war in the comment section, even though that'd be pretty hard since I don't get many comments. But yeah, this video is basically going to be focused on communism, what it is, and somewhat how it works. So, when talking about communism, I imagine the first thing that comes into your head is those massive tower blocks, the Chernobyl incident, the Soviet Union, obviously, China, North Korea, authoritarian dictatorships, everybody's paycheck being the same, the welfare distribution, um, yeah, famine. Again, I said I won't criticize the systems, but I'm going to because I'm 10 seconds into the video and this is what we're going to be doing. Uh, so, communism. So, a socialist society is when the means of production, distribution, and exchange are all owned by the community as a whole, rather than the private individual. Now, that is basically so a good example of this. A very good example of this would be Cuba. Cuba is a country. Its party is the Communist Party. It is a communist country, though they would call themselves a socialist country, and their party even admits to say that they are a socialist party, not a communist one, giving doubt that there are many forms of socialism and that communism is not the only form. So what happens in Cuba is it is probably one of the last proper socialist countries left, as all the other ones are either authoritarian capitalism or all like oligarchical dictatorships. But so Cuba is where what happens is in Cuba the people vote. They vote for one party. You can only vote for one party. You vote for the members within that party, and then when you vote for the party controls the means of production, distribution, and exchange, which in turn means that the people own the means of production, distribution, and exchange indirectly. So you get what it is. It's by the state, the community owns the means of production and distribution exchange instead of the individual, which Cuba is a good example of, not places like Norway, Denmark, or Sweden, which do own some of the means of production, do own some of the means of distribution, and do own some of the means of exchange, but in underlying socialist terms, many people would say that they are not communist. They are social democracies, and we'll get to that in a second, but essentially a social democracy is more capitalist than, well, socialist, as it is the only form of socialism that kind of dips into capitalism more wholeheartedly and more friendly than all the others. So, communism. I guess we've talked about socialism enough, and though communism is socialism, communism is a word used when talking about a communist society as an umbrella term, and it is basically what encompasses what most other communist ideals, such as Marxism and all the others, wish to achieve, which is a stateless, moneyless, classless society. Um, and when, as you can see in most communist states now, it is not stateless and it is not moneyless, and it certainly isn't classless, as politicians certainly live better lives than any of the lower down citizens who certainly do not live the best of lives. The Soviet Union, China are good examples. As even well, China nowadays isn't communist, but back in the day, you had the political elite in China. You had I believe it was the Red Guard, I believe, or something. I may be wrong there. And in the Soviet Union, you had oh no, the Red Dragons. I mean. And in the Soviet Union, you had obviously all the higher ups in the Communist Party who lived pretty luxurious lives in mansions, chateaus, and lake houses, and even in the cities themselves, they lived in big old remnants of the Russian Empire, and they lived pretty luxurious lives in comparison to the everyday citizen that was probably starving from a famine because they kept importing wheat and grain to make sure that it looked like this is um, their system worked instead of sending the grain supplies all the way down to the Ukraine. I'm looking at you, Soviet Union. So if we were to look at it, socialism is the main priority. It is the thing that encompasses basically all of these, and inside that is communism, which is what we have just talked about, and inside that are the variants of anarchism and classical Marxism. Now, classical Marxism, because anarchism is basically the violent overthrow of a government without a transition at all, where classical Marxism is the overthrow of the government in some means, but not necessarily a violent transition from capitalist society to socialist. And then with inside classical Marxism is orthodox Marxism and revisionist Marxism. And then with inside both of them is democratic socialist. And then inside only revisionist Marxism is social democracy. Now, social democracy is what we talked about with Scandinavia, and it is where basically the countries are more capitalist than they are socialist. And that in hindsight makes them not communist. I guess between democratic socialists and social democracy, there are the main differences is that a democratic socialist seeks to establish a socialist state through a democratic process. Now, give in mind that this doesn't mean they want to do it for a capitalist democratic um, under a capitalist democratic state, as some are revolutionaries and wish the overthrow of them states as they see them as unjust. And also, they are communist, they are socialists, they are democratic socialists, not social democracies that still believe in capitalism. They do not believe in capitalism. For the most part, they do not believe in that. Though they do believe in the right to vote, though that'd be again for one party probably in most cases. So, yeah. And then in Orthodox Marxism, obviously, democratic socialism, obviously, is a part of that. It's part of revisionist Marxism, which is a part of classical Marxism, which is a part of communism, which is a part of socialism. Excuse me. But inside Orthodox Marxism, you also have the other forms, which is Luxemburgism, Leninism, Marxist Leninism, Maoism, Ho Chi Minhism, uh, Castroism, and Trotskyism, and also Stalinism, and all the other forms. And these are basically when, well, so Orthodox Marxism is basically when it's working, it's using the works of Lenin and working on them. Where revisionist Marxists will look to what it could have been and what trying to finish his works. Orthodox Marxism is using what he had already done and not really improving upon that, just using that and carrying on with that. So I guess I mean this is probably the end of the video because it's a very bigger topic, and again there are other YouTubers that do it much better. But just to wrap it off, so socialism is the whole encompassing thing. And on the opposite side of it is capitalism. Within inside socialism, there is communism. Within inside communism, there is anarchism, which is the violent overthrow of a government any without any transition period from capitalist to socialist society. Classical Marxism is the overthrow of a government or the democratic way of being elected into a government, and then a transition from a capitalist to a socialist society. With inside that, you have orthodox Marxism and revisionist Marxism. And one is the use of Lenin's already done works and classing them as the finished works, and revisionist Marxism, which is taking upon Lenin's work, Marx, Karl Marx's works, and working upon them, his unfinished works, and improving them and seeing where you can take them. And inside them, there is democratic socialism and social democracy. And obviously, the two differences between democratic socialists and social democracy is one's more capitalist and one isn't. And then inside orthodox Marxism, you have all the other ways upon which certain leaders have changed the way it works under their eyes and how it is interpreted. So this will be the end of the video, I assume. I hope this helped. Again, there are much better ways, much better videos you can look at when watching, when wanting to learn about communism, instead of watching mine. But if you enjoyed this, if you like this, then leave a like, subscribe. If you think I did anything wrong, which I'm pretty sure I did, you can tell me about it in the comments below. I'm open to criticism and I'm willing to change whatever it is. So subscribe, like if you enjoyed, and another video coming out tomorrow because keeping up with that daily upload schedule.